welcome back. And our next speaker is Veronica, who's going to talk about Langchain versus prompt engineering, also a very exciting topic. So Veronica, welcome.
Hey.
You are on mute.
There we go,
Yes,
there we go, we can hear you.
Right. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. I'm always happy to join Global AI community. You are always welcome in. You are great. I love being here.
And we are very happy that you are part of it again. Yes. Before we start, can you introduce yourself for a bit for the people that don't know you yet?
My name is Veronica Kolesnikova. I am 5 times Microsoft MVP in AI. I am also a senior software engineer in Boston, Massachusetts. So I'm really excited about machine learning, artificial intelligence. But for my day job, I'm a software engineer. So for me, it's important to actually spread the word about machine learning and how it can be easy to connect and use the tools, even if you are not a data scientist.
Yes.
I love that perspective. Yeah. Yes, let's hear more.
So let's dive into your session then. Are you ready?
Perfect. Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Hope everyone can see my screen.
We absolutely can.
We can. Good luck.
Thank you. So thank you again for joining me today. And I'll be talking about Langchain and prompt engineering, and I'll share a couple of my personal insight and share my experience. Here you can see my name, Veronica Kolesnikova, and my Twitter handle. So if you want to follow me there, you're welcome to. You can also find me on LinkedIn, but there, please leave a message why you want to connect and how you know me. I do check those messages, so please do that. Now I want to move to a couple of things about me. I already introduced myself, so I'm gonna skip that slide and save a little bit time. And now I want to talk about prompt engineering first. So I'm not gonna start with basic information, with information about large language models or GPTs and all that fun stuff. There are other sessions that will cover all the services, all the large language models, some basic information, maybe some principles, and all the other stuff. Since I don't have a lot of time today, it is only a short, quick session. I want to focus on those two things and go a little deeper and maybe provide an overview of what is going on with prompt engineering and Langchain. I'll start with the prompt engineering. If you worked or maybe you heard, I actually don't know anyone who hasn't heard about OpenAI GPT models, who hasn't tried interacting with those models one way or another. Maybe you use it through Bing, maybe you use it as a developer, you connect it to Azure OpenAI service. One way or another, I'm sure a lot of you, if not everyone, tried prompting and prompt engineering as well. So it is very important to understand what it is and maybe understand better the principles and options what you have there. So now let's move a little bit towards theoretical part of it. Basically, prompts are all the inputs that you are providing to the model, whether it's a GPT model, whether it's a Llama model, doesn't really matter. So basically, all inputs are called prompts. You have a system prompt, for example. So if you are a software engineer, a developer, you're building your application, and you are using one of those models or several of those models, actually, you need to set up your system prompt. And I keep repeating that because it's very, very important. Without the system prompt, you can't really get correct answers. You have higher chance of getting hallucinations. So for example, if you build an application about the weather and you want your model to respond only with weather-related information, maybe climate information, then you need to set up those boundaries in your system prompt. So even if your end users are asking something unrelated, your service, your application can produce correct answers and maybe say, I don't know, when it is something completely unrelated to the application that they're interacting with. So system prompts, very, very important. Don't forget about them when you are building your solutions. Also, it was a big concern, the amount of tokens that you can add to your prompts and also get as outputs. So those outputs actually called completions. Now it is getting less and less concerning with the latest GPT-4 Turbo. The input can be up to 128,000 tokens. It's basically the whole book, so you don't need to be too concerned about the amount of tokens that you are using there, and output can be up to 4,096 tokens, which is a lot. So you can include a lot of information into your prompt if you're using maybe something like retrieval augmented generation approach, RAG approach, then you can basically provide whole chunks of information and feed them into your prompt. There are a couple of approaches with prompting. There are actually a lot of them. I don't know why I said a couple. There are more than a couple. There are so many videos online, so many learning opportunities. And sometimes I feel like everyone has their own approach and little tricks and tips about prompting and how to better generate your prompt in order to get a better answer. There are also lots of templates online that you can use and maybe just tweak them a little bit in order to interact with those models. Here, I want to talk a little bit about a couple of approaches when you are using prompts. There is one approach called zero-shot prompt, where you are not providing any examples. Usually that happens in a chat setup. Your end user is just asking a question or providing one line of information and not providing any examples. So the model has to figure it out and generate it and basically run more freely without specific restrictions other than those that you as a developer set up in the system prompt. There is also another option, one-shot prompting, where you are providing one example. So if you want the model respond in a specific format, maybe kind of get better understanding of what you want, if it's maybe a convoluted question or question with a couple of steps included there, then it's good to include at least one example there. And another option here is a few-shot prompt, where you are including a couple of examples there. It can be really valuable when you are writing maybe an article and you want help from those models, but you want it to be in a specific genre and maybe specific format. Then you can use a few-shot prompt where you provide in a couple of examples, and that way there's not a lot of freedom for the model. It has to follow those examples. So it depends how strict your system is. I do recommend to check those options. More advanced prompt engineering options are chain of thought and tree of thought. Those are targeting reasoning, and they're trying to maybe split a bigger task into smaller chunks, and then either create a chain where you're interacting with the model back and forth, and then get into end solution. Or with trio thought, maybe you have a bigger problem and then you are trying to pick better solution, trying to reason with your model. It is very interesting. I checked a couple of examples. I haven't used those prompt techniques myself. I use chain of thought, but not trio thought. But it is really cool to watch online tutorials, how people use it, some examples there to better understand how advanced prompting techniques can be applied to real solutions. Now I want to move to Langchain, and I assume, at least some of you heard about that, it is an open source framework for you to help you interact with a large language model, build your AI-based solutions, and it is very popular. Again, it's open source, so you can have access to the code. You can better understand what is available there, how it was built behind the scene. You can also contribute to Langchain and add your code. Maybe you see something is not working right, then you can always go back, submit a PR, or maybe submit an issue on GitHub. It is very, very popular. It is growing larger and larger. A lot of companies are using that. So here I have that slide that covers some parts of Langchain. It is very, very hard to cover everything, especially both prompt engineering that has so many options, how you can build a prompt, how you can use different techniques, maybe some tips and tricks, and also talk about Langchain, because those two things are just massive. I'm only touching some little small bits and pieces here and there. Langchain has components and chains, and basically it is a framework with those little components that you can connect together in order to build your solution. And those components are all kinds of can do all kinds of functions there. Some of them are to connect to large language models and prompts, maybe connecting to different databases, vector databases, also connecting to search engines and search capabilities, connecting to different utilities, documents, creating agents. There are so many different components, and they keep building those components. Also, chains where those chains are helping to connect to those different components. Maybe you start with connecting it to database, and then connecting to search, and then passing it down to large language model prompts, and then spit it out and process the data. So it is definitely organized. You can create your solution using those components and chains. There is also Langchain expression language that they're using for interacting with that Langchain library. It's a library, it's not a tool. You can just I wish they actually had. It's a good idea. I just came up with the idea for them that they can create a UI tool where maybe you can drag and drop those pieces. Maybe it's already out there. I haven't heard about it. If you know something about it, let me know. I think it can be a good idea. But now it is code-based. They have a JavaScript option, and they have Python option. So you installing those libraries and then working with them to create your solutions. There are different parts of that framework, Langchain libraries that I started talking about with components and chains and expression language. Then there are Langchain templates, so you don't have to build it all from scratch if you don't want to, and you can just use those templates, connect your specific technologies, your specific libraries. Maybe you prefer to use Llama as your LLM instead of GPT-4, for example, and then you can connect it to the template. You can move pieces around, you can connect to different technologies, and basically reuse the templates. You can also generate your own templates and then reuse them, share it with other companies if you want to, or share it internally as well. There is LangServe that is used for deployment, and Langsmith that is used for observability. I'm not going to talk at all about those two options. I just want to talk a little bit about prompt engineering and Langchain, what to use when. It is a tricky question. I would personally recommend to start with prompt engineering first and see if it suits for your needs. And then if you need something more complex, maybe you can try Langchain. But prompting has so many different techniques. Again, I keep repeating over and over that there are so many options how you can generate the prompt, how you can create it in the most efficient way. In most of cases, I believe that prompt can be enough. But if you see that you are building a large solution, maybe with different components, different parts of an application, a larger application where one part can play a role of separate application, and then another part can be a separate application, but then maybe the structure of that interaction with large language model is similar. You're just using different models here, maybe using GPT 3.5. Here you want to use something else or connect to different databases. Then it is easy to swap those technologies once you create that template or once you set up the chain. It is very convenient to change the settings, connect to different tools. So if it's a concern for you, if you feel like maybe you want to switch parts, or maybe you want to reuse the same structure with different tools connected to it, different libraries connected to it, you can definitely do that with Langchain, and it's gonna be definitely tricky with just prompting. You can set up different layers of security in both of those approaches. So you can always write your custom code around to prevent maybe data leakage, to control your prompts and completions. So it shouldn't be a concern with both of those approaches. Again, I do recommend to start with prompting and maybe better understand how it all works before using Langchain. And as part of Langchain, you do have prompt in there too. So you can always move your prompt that you already created to Langchain and continue building your solution there. Both of those approaches definitely take time to get familiar with. It is not just something that you jump on top of it and start developing and it works perfectly the first time. So it takes time both to understand best practices and principles of prompt engineering and also to learn about the components that are available in Langchain. So it is definitely time consuming, both of those options. And now I do want to show you two examples that I have here. Let me exit from my presentation. Here I wanted to show you that screen as well, where it is from Langchain documentation. Documentation is pretty good. They have lots of examples, also examples in GitHub, but that's the structure that you have: Langchain and then templates on top, and then LangServe, and then LangSmith on top of it. Different modules, model, prompt, retrieval options here. So I do recommend to check out the documentation, especially if you're really interested in that. And it just might be useful to get familiar with options that you have. Okay, let me move to the examples. I have two examples. It's in my other screen. One is related to claims. I am working for an insurance company, but I want to note and put a disclaimer on it. It is not something that we actually built and that I built for work, although it says claims and it is kind of related to insurance, but it's not being used for the company, so I'm not leaking any secrets. I want to note that, but that's what I just built for fun, and I used that claims example just because it's not related to anything that we are doing at Liberty Mutual. Here, what I have here, I use just prompt. I use that Node.js application with TypeScript, and I connected it to Azure OpenAI. Here I am using GPT 3.5 turbo model with instruct option. So it's just the name of my deployment. It's not official name of the model. And here I have that prompt. So the goal of this application is to get text from a customer, from someone that unfortunately got into an accident, and that person can write down in his or her own words what happened. And then I'm feeding that information to Azure OpenAI, to that service, and then I wanted to basically go through that information and organize it in a certain way. So here I do have, I can probably call it a few shot option because I do have specific questions and answers, and I wanted to replace that field, the answer, with actual information from the description of the incident that a person provided. And then here I am using the temperature, actually, the lower temperature, the less creative the system is. And then you can tweak all those parameters to understand how it all works. I do have them in two places, so please ignore this one. That's how it's the settings that are being used. The temperature is on the lower side, max tokens. I did put a little more maybe than I needed, but I just wanted to make sure that it returns all the information needed there. And yeah, I just want to run it really quick so you see how it looks. And I have a couple of examples which I found online with description of accidents. I'm going to just copy really quick and then insert it here. It's a shorter description, obviously. Usually when there's a real accident, there's more information. So, and here it doesn't look good. That wasn't the goal of this application, so it looks good. It just shows you that it parsed the information and it fed it to specific questions. And those questions can be used later on by insurance company, Again, this is just an example of how it can be done. It is not insurance specific in any way. It was just easier for me personally to relate to that example. And yeah, you can see that the information is accurate. Where did it happen? Accident happened at this address, and that it pulled address from here, pulled the date, and all other useful information. And I also built the same application with Langchain. Maybe I don't have enough time to actually go through it, but I'm gonna just show you really quickly. I'm not gonna run it. Here, I just used functions, and I wanted it to return the information that it pulled from that accident description in a specific format. It was easier to return the format. So in the first solution, it might be a little tricky to maybe return it as JSON. You need to process that information a little more. With Langchain and functions, it's easier to return it as JSON and in JSON format, and then later on you can process information, maybe display it in a different way, so it doesn't look as ugly as I showed in the first example, but that's how it works basically. You are creating a model and then connecting to specific function, then calling the function, and then you can also format the output. So here is the parser. It is a JSON output function parser, which is also coming from Langchain. And see here, I have a bunch of libraries, a bunch of parts of Langchain that I used. I know I am at time, so I just want to check if there are any questions.
Yes, Veronica, thank you so much for this session. Lots of cool development stuff. I have one question for you. If I would like to start with this, what is the best way to start learning Langchain? Do you have some tips for me?
Yes, the documentation is really good. There are lots of examples. Since it's open source, they do have examples on GitHub. So I do recommend to check them out. Again, the templates, they're really useful. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can just reuse the templates and just connect it to your specific technologies.
Okay, that sounds good. And you also have a repo that we can check out?
Yes, I was working on polishing my demos this morning, so I haven't pushed the latest, but as soon as I do, I'll share the links.
Oh, that's really great, because you had a lot of great demos that I would like to investigate. So thanks a lot for joining us again, this conference. And looking forward to see you next time again with a great session.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you later.
Bye.
So that was a really good session.
Another example. Where'd you get started? Here's some samples, build on top of them.
Yeah.
Blank pages are not fun.
No,
so that's cool.
No, really cool. So we will be back in a bit for our next session.